Hello and welcome back to the AA NBA podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Hammond.
And I'm Aditya.
And so today we are doing a little bit of a different episode. We just have some news, a little bit of a throwback. We're not going to be covering the bubble games that have happened so far because they're all just like preseason like scrimmages, and I don't care enough to watch them, and
I've only seen like two of them.
Aditya doesn't care enough to talk about them.
Yeah.
So that's out of the way. Aditya?
Yeah, so
hit us with some news.
First bit of news we got going on. Adrian Wojnarowski has made his ESPN return.
The GOAT, the greatest of all time. Adrian Wojnarowski made his return.
Mm-hmm.
Looking solid. Yeah. Looking fresh. Looking fly as ever.
And 2021 free agent. So, I know we've already talked about this. Maybe not. It's not going to be in this episode because we had to restart. But Adrian Wojnarowski could potentially be coming to the AA NBA podcast. We have no pull, no clout. He's probably not going to hear this. But if he does, I would highly recommend joining the podcast. It could be the AAA NBA podcast.
Now, Adrian, we can't per se pay you.
Yeah, this would be volunteer work, basically.
We don't have any. We have spent probably about, $60 on this podcast, and that was you buying the Blue Snowball mic.
Yeah, the mic was $40, and then the editing stuff was like $20.
Yeah.
So we're in net minus $60 on the podcast.
Yes, we have not started monetizing the channel yet.
Because we can't.
Because you fuckers won't share this.
But hey, if Woj was on the podcast, it'd get more views.
Facts. So Woj, you could basically pay yourself.
Yeah, which is really what you do anyway, because you're kind of carrying ESPN right now.
Facts.
But it's like
Woj, Stephen A, and Max Kellerman.
We won't tell you. We won't be, the AA podcast would not suspend you for telling a senator to fuck off if it is warranted.
Yeah, we'd actually probably give you a raise. For every senator that you told to suck your dick, we'd give you a $1 raise.
Yeah.
So you better get going.
You'd be giving yourself a raise because you'd be.
Yeah, you'd probably just come in and be our boss.
Yeah.
So probably. If this is a flattering offer for you, Woj, feel free to take it. Yeah, hit us up, dude. We're more than willing to take on.
You could just
Adrian
comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Twitter. We got a Twitter. You could tweet at us. I know that's kind of your domain.
Right. There's a lot of
King of NBA
here.
Twitter. Yeah, lot of stuff, and of course, Woj, in typical Woj fashion, came back after a 2-week suspension and immediately dropped probably the biggest Woj bomb of the NBA bubble, with Domantas Sabonis having a very serious foot injury.
Except the only Woj bomb that's been bigger is that the NBA bubble is happening. That was pretty big.
That's true, but I would say that's before the NBA bubble.
Ooh, that's fair. Yeah, good point.
Hot take. I mean, the only one that really rivals it is the Lakers signing J.R. Smith or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and Bradley Beal not playing, but the Wizards weren't going to do anything anyway.
Wait, didn't Shams break JR actually? Because wasn't that while Woj was suspended?
Probably, yeah.
Now that I think about that. So by far the biggest Woj bomb if he didn't break J.R. Smith. Adrian Wojnarowski breaks the Sabonis story. This sucks. I mean, my first thought as a Pacers fan was fuck.
Yeah.
But, it's not the end of the world. I didn't think the Pacers were really going to contend.
Yeah, I mean, they might have made it for an interesting first round, but that's about it.
Yeah, they were not going to... They weren't going to challenge the Celtics, Raptors, or Bucks, and probably not the Heat either.
Yeah, I mean... plus, Sabonis is under contract for a long time, so I'm fine with him taking however long he needs to get healthy.
Yeah, he's an all-star. Honestly, this is a weird situation, obviously, because like getting hurt in the bubble, like right before the restart, like he'd be back on the court. Like if he just doesn't play the rest of the bubble, he'd be back on court December, January, probably when the NBA actually starts next season.
Yeah,
So I don't really know what the injury is. Nobody really knows what the injury is. He left the bubble so he could see a
I
specialist.
don't think he has seen the specialist yet, though.
Yeah. Um, so this is kind of a weird, difficult situation on top of a weird, difficult situation.
Yeah,
Um, there's nothing really else to say
yeah, it just sucks for
about this. It's
Pacers
just it
fans.
sucks for him, but it's like it's I guess it's better that this happened now than like in the middle of the bubble.
Yeah, and
Um,
as long as it's not like a career threatening injury that he like, as long as he can bounce
yeah,
back from it, fine. It's not the end of the world.
which with modern medicine is really only what Victor Oladipo had and an Achilles tear. Pretty much nothing is a career threatening injury except for like those two.
Yeah,
Um, like literal muscle tearing off the bone and an Achilles tear are the two I would say most. I mean, and like having a stroke or something would probably also
I
be
mean,
up
heart
there, but
attack
that's not
wouldn't
really
be
an
great.
injury. Heart attack, cancer. Okay, so maybe in terms of injuries you can get playing
Physical body
basketball, I would
injuries.
say that this is that. Hopefully, it's just like hopefully it's like sprained his foot or whatever, and he's out for like a couple weeks. But I kind of doubt it. I would say it's more likely than not a break, just from Woj's
Yeah, I
wording.
doubt he'd leave the
So,
bubble for an ankle sprain.
yeah. Well, if it was like a really severe one, or maybe it's like a stress fracture, like I don't know.
I guess if you got a high ankle
So
sprain, he wouldn't be able to play for like a month or
it
two.
could be. It could be. Um. So regardless, get well soon, Domas. We'll miss you. Hopefully, you'll be able to play in the bubble. But if you're not, don't feel any. If you're not able to, don't feel any pressure to, because you know
We're not winning.
a full strength Pacers team next year is better than a half strength Pacers team this year.
Yeah.
And with yourself coming off of an injury and probably not Victor Oladipo, we're not going to be at full strength in the bubble.
Well, Vix might be playing just
Um.
because the NBA said the Pacers aren't allowed to pay him if he doesn't.
Well, yeah.
So he's actually
All right. What
considering
do we
playing.
got next?
Next up on the injuries tab, Marvin Bagley Jr. is out for the bubble. Big
What
shocker.
has he spent? Like 80% of his career in street clothes?
Um, I'm actually gonna look it up right now because I don't know how many career games he has played. What's he in? He was Luca's draft, right?
Yeah, he was the second overall pick. It was Aiton, Bagley, Luca, Trey J, Trey.
Yeah. So, oh, it's Marvin Bagley the third.
He's
It's
not
not
a
even Marvin Bagley Jr.
uh,
So last
yeah,
season he played 62 games. Um, Not bad.
solid.
Yeah,
But I feel like he didn't play. I feel like it wasn't like missing a game here and there. It was like
just
missing
one
10
20 game
games like a few
stretch.
times. 120, yeah.
And then this season he's played 13 games, which isn't great. Um, and the problem I think with that is, well, the Kings in general have a lot of injury histories with their players. Like Kerry Giles hasn't been able to stay healthy, but the problem with
Yeah.
this is,
But that dates back to his high school days too.
yeah, the problem with this is that, like, especially the young players, if you miss such a big portion of your so far short career, like the same thing happened with Dejounte Murray, that when you have this sort of injury, it kind of stunts your growth as a player. So it either takes longer to
Yeah.
develop or you never fully develop. Obviously, he's still only in his second season, so there's still room. But like, if something like this keeps happening, where he keeps missing big chunks of the season, or he'll miss like some 20 game stretch and whatever, it could genuinely hurt his progression as a player.
Yeah, he's also like 20.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying right now, but like
Um,
if it continues in the
yeah,
next few years.
yeah, I agree. It definitely would hurt. Um, the thing with Marvin Bagley is there was a reason he was the second overall pick. Like he was excellent. Um, like literally the only thing, and you even see it when he plays. He's good when he plays. The only thing holding him back is his inability to stay healthy, which was kind of the same thing for I don't want to say it, but it was like the same thing for a guy like Greg Oden. Like Greg Oden, people forget that Greg Oden had a season where he was like a legitimately good NBA player, and he just could not stay
The
healthy,
thing with
mostly
Greg
because he
Oden,
has uneven legs.
the thing I think Greg Oden genuinely could have been fine, but the Blazers tried tweaking it and they put that thing in his foot to like try to balance him out. And I think if they hadn't done that
Yeah,
and they just let him play the way he was, he might have had some injury issues here and there, but his career wouldn't have derailed the way it had.
yeah, I agree. Um, but yeah, you see flashes of it when he plays. Like it sucks, but like I'm not shocked that he's hurt again.
Yeah, I mean, out of the 13 games he played this season, he put up 14 points, 7.5 rebounds, about an assist and a block a game. Like, pretty solid numbers.
Yeah, those are good numbers. Like especially for a second year power forward,
Yeah,
those are good numbers.
especially because
So
early on, the Kings are really slumping. So it was like,
yeah,
if he had been there when they started really picking everything up, he'd probably be having a lot better numbers right now.
yeah, I agree. He and Fox in the future, especially, they're gonna be like a really crazy pick and roll threat if he can stay healthy,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big if. But if he can do that, then I don't see why the Kings couldn't be good. But I think their future kind of hinges on him. If they want to be like a really great team in the next couple years, then he's got to be healthy. And if they want to be borderline playoff team, in that like 10 to 7 seed spot,
And that's where
he's
they're at
gonna be
right
not
now.
healthy. Yeah, exactly. Which is with him not really playing.
Yeah.
So I think their future kind of hinges on him, and not to say it doesn't hinge on Fox because he's also incredibly important, but Bagley is what's going to put them over the top. I feel
And
like
Fox had a very good season this year, like
Fox did, yeah,
borderline
and
all
it
star
clearly just
caliber.
wasn't, and it couldn't put the Kings over the top.
Yeah. All right. Next up is we're gonna keep it in the bubble for right now. Bull had a crazy first preseason game, and he had like 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 blocks. And then he got scheduled for a drug test by the NBA.
Yeah. So this is, I guess we kind of lied. We are going to talk about one bubble game because Bull was fucking insane.
Two, kinda. We have a little bit something else coming up later, but
Oh yeah, yeah. We're not gonna. I guess we're not gonna do recaps, but we are gonna talk about storylines from a couple of these games.
yeah,
So he put up 16, 10, and 6 blocks,
yeah.
which is insane. Um, that's crazy. It's the reason why the Nuggets drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see that play where he took it coast to
Pull
coast.
up three.
He got a rebound, I think it was, and then he went opposite side, pull up three,
Yeah, because well, the
swish.
thing is, everyone knew Bol was a good player coming out of the draft. The reason he fell so far was because after he had that foot injury, he lost like 30 pounds, and that was the real reason no one took him is because for someone that big, especially with the minute Bol jeans, it's hard to maintain weight. So you gotta do a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah, I think he also might have gotten I think he also might have fallen because he played 6 total college games, which is another issue.
Yeah,
And he was good in those, but he broke his foot. It's especially with players like Greg Oden. It's harder to draft, especially if you can see an injury issue. Players just don't get drafted. You saw it with Nerlens Noel a couple of years ago. Not nearly as much of a dramatic fall, but he was going to be the number one pick. he broke his foot, I think it was, and then he or tore his ACL, something like that, and he fell like 5 spots.
Yeah.
Like players falling due to injury is not like a crazy thing. Like were acting like it was when Bull
Well, the
fell.
thing with Bull was he went from being like a potential lottery pick to late second round. That's why it was so
Yeah,
crazy, was because he just fell so far.
yeah,
But he looked pretty solid. I didn't watch the full game, but I saw the highlights and stuff. Um, he looked good.
yeah. He looked good.
All right.
He looked healthy.
Next up is Ben Simmons. In their one scrimmage game they had, he has been attempting some more 3-pointers than he normally is expected of him. Um, which one? It's good to see. I think no, I don't think he made one, but he did attempt them. Uh, and there was like a report that during the quarantine or whatever, Ben Simmons was meeting with a sports psychologist to like sort of get him in the habit of shooting more threes. So that's good.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast. I think we talked about it off podcast. Did you see that video of Ben Simmons fishing and he tried to throw a fish back into the ocean and he
Yeah,
missed?
he hit the fish on the deck.
He missed. He missed the ocean.
Yeah, that was a whole meme.
That was pretty hilarious. But yeah, that's really the only thing I can think about now when I talk about his shooting.
Yeah,
This is the guy that didn't make an NBA 3-pointer as a guard until his third full NBA season. He played 2 full NBA seasons and had another one sitting on the bench. So he had basically 3 NBA seasons to learn how to shoot a three. He just didn't learn, and then finally,
he hit one.
after during the like at the beginning of his third season, he hit one. You remember how fucking crazy people were going in preseason when he hit one?
As they should. They witnessed history.
What is he, like 2 of 5 on the season?
I don't even know.
If he makes one in the bubble, he like has the highest 3-point percentage ever
What,
on
50%?
5 shots or more. Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's the Here's the thing with Ben Simmons is even though he's not even close to the caliber of player Giannis is, that's the one thing that's killing his game. Like 2019 Giannis is just his like the ability to leave him completely wide open beyond the arc.
Yeah.
Like that just it kills him and it kills them. It makes it basically impossible for them to play against a zone like you saw against Miami when they got their fucking asses wiped.
Yeah. And because what I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, Joel Embiid went down in the playoffs and it was Sixers versus Heat. And Ben Simmons kind of tore him up.
He did. It was also a really shitty Heat team.
Yeah,
Like their
that's
best
true. Yeah.
player was like 37-year-old Dwayne
The
Wade.
team
I
wasn't
think
good, but I mean, they were still capable
it
of
was what
running the
Dwayne
zone.
Wade and Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah, but like my point is, the Heat have always run. Well, not always run a zone defense, but
The Spolstra Heat. Yeah, I get
they've
what you're
had
saying.
like they can guard anybody. As that's my
Yeah,
point.
the Eric Spolstra Heat have run a zone for years and years now.
Yeah,
I get. Yeah, I get. But now that they actually have a personnel who can run a legitimately great zone, with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, uh, guys like that, it's gonna be a fucking pain in the ass for Ben Simmons in the playoffs. And what I kind of hope to see is this is also kind of the inner Pacers fan where I really don't want to play the Heat in the playoffs because I don't want to lose to them. Um, I want to see a 4-5 matchup of Heat Sixers, and I just want to see if Ben Simmons in a 7-game series can figure out how to just get around or through that zone, or if he starts maybe taking threes to make that zone less effective.
Here's the thing: like, I don't think this season necessarily he's going to be able to solve the problem of the zone defense. But if he shows that he's at least willing to take threes if they're given to him, that could be like a huge stride.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's got to take those opportunities when they come instead of, passing into a double Joel Embiid or driving into the same lane as a top 3 defensive center in the league this year.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, that's our Ben Simmons talk.
And
Ben, we want you to succeed. This is why we're mean to you a
yeah,
little bit.
people that say
Even
bullying
though
doesn't
we
work,
don't particularly like you. I mean, we both kind of think you're a little bit of an asshole, but a lot of
and you
players
don't
aren't.
play for the Pacers in the Eastern Conference, so instantly not,
That's true.
you know.
Except for Giannis. Giannis is
Well,
cool.
not
I
every
like
player. Like
Giannis.
I like Kemba and stuff. I like most of the Raptors team. I like most of the Heat team.
Really you play for the Sixers,
Yeah,
so that kind of takes you out of it. Um, Even I like the Celtics team for the most part this year, and I almost never like the
yeah,
Celtics.
they have a lot of likable personalities.
Yeah.
But next up, this is something we actually didn't have written down because we forgot about it. Andre Roberson, after a year and a half, has
Yes.
made his basketball return. Uh,
Andre Roberson, one of the best defensive guards of the mid 2010s,
and he hit a three.
which just shows how long it's been since he played because he's one of the best defensive guards of the mid 2010s and it's the early 2020s now.
Yeah,
It's been a good 2.5 years since he has suited up for an
that's been
NBA
one and a
team.
half years. He played in 28. The January 2018 was when he went down, right? Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
guess it's. Oh
yeah.
yeah,
So
it's yeah,
2.5 years. January 2019,
yeah.
January 2020,
I
and then July
completely
2020. So
forgot that
two
we're in
and a half
2020.
years. Yeah, there was a Instagram commenter that did that yesterday too. So don't feel too bad. You're on the same tier as an Instagram commenter.
That's good.
Um, yeah, it's really good.
But he hit a three.
So yeah, he hit a 3. His stroke didn't look awful. Um, like it usually does.
I'm just happy to see him finally playing again. I've never. I mean, I'm pretty indifferent to Andre
Yeah,
Roberson, but I mean, it's kind of become a meme because he hasn't played in 2.5 years.
yeah. I never disliked Andre Roberson.
Yeah, I never had
Um,
any problems with him, but I
the
wasn't
thing
ever
with
like,
Andre Roberson is his floor. Like, can you imagine if the Paul George Russell Westbrook teams had a lockdown defender like Andre Roberson? They probably still wouldn't have done shit, but they might have won a playoff
well,
series.
no, the problem with those teams wasn't like their defense was fine. The problem was letting Russ take 25 shots and make 6 of them. That was the
And
problem
Paul
with those
George's
teams.
inability to perform in the
Yeah.
playoffs. That also kind of
So
hurt.
like no matter how much defense they had there, if Paul George and Russell Westbrook are combining for like 12 of 50, you're not winning the game.
I don't know. Dame, I don't know. I think if they had somebody to at least make it a little harder for Dame, they would have done a little better in that Portland series.
I mean, but the thing is that series, um, even though because Dame wasn't like perfect, he had a few rough sets. Like when they played against the Nuggets, he struggled and CJ McCollum picked it up.
CJ McCollum took over against the
Yeah,
Nuggets.
so like even though if they played good, because I remember me and Ryan went to that Pacers Portland game. Dame didn't play and CJ dropped like 45. So it's like even if you clamp Dame, CJ's still a very good player.
Didn't they lose that
They
game?
did, but that's because Dame didn't play.
Yeah.
But CJ still dropped
Um.
50, 45.
But yeah, that Andre Roberson is an absolute lockdown defender. There's no doubt about that. He still is. There are people that are like, oh, maybe he's not going. Like maybe it's been too long. And you know what? In a lot of other circumstances, I'd agree. But you don't have to be super fucking athletic to play good defense. And there are plenty of players that are proof of that. Marcus Smart isn't a particularly athletic freak,
Yeah,
but he's still one of the best defensive guards in the NBA. Same with Patrick Beverly. Like neither of those guys are, throwing like dunking over people like Vince Carter,
yeah, they're not
but they're
jumping out
both
of the gym
excellent
to get a
defenders in
block.
their own right. Yeah. All right. What else? Do we got anything else?
Yeah, well, we have outside of the bubble news now. So
Okay.
the next thing we have the Brooklyn Nets. Well, I don't know if it was an official report, but there's something that came out that if they are unable to trade for Bradley Beal, their next target will be Zach LaVine.
So if they're unable to trade for Bradley Beal, they're going to trade for worse Bradley Beal.
Yes,
Why?
I don't
Why?
know why they feel the need to get like if they keep their current supporting cast around Kyrie and Kevin Durant, they're a championship team.
I don't understand. And this is I do understand. This is the Warriors doing. I don't understand a team like the teams that feel the need to constantly get a third all
And the
star
thing
or a
is,
third
we haven't even
star.
seen Kyrie and Kevin Durant play together, so like they could play and be the best team in the league. Like they don't need a third star.
Yeah, a Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving team. If they're both at their absolute best, playing together, they're going to be an excellent team as it is. There's a reason that the Clippers and the Lakers don't feel it like as it is this season. Like, sure, before this season, the Lakers tried to get Kawhi, but as it is right now, I don't think either of those teams feel the need to get a third star. They both just feel a need to get a little deeper,
Yeah,
and which
and
is,
the
I
Nets are a
think,
deep
what
team
the Nets are going to feel.
because like
The Nets are
if
super
even
deep.
if they lose Spencer Dinwiddie, which is very possible, they still have Karras, they still have Joe Harris, Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan, Wilson Chandler, and like their bench is good.
Which more likely than not, I would say that a deal bringing Zach LaVine, who is a very handsomely paid player, borderline all star, probably would be an all star if the Bulls didn't suck complete shit this year.
And if he played a little better
Um,
defense.
and if you play a little better defense, but Trae Young made it.
Yeah, but Trae Young's a fan favorite. Even if the Bulls were winning a few more games, like no
True,
one cares about them. Trae Young is electric.
true. Oh, yeah, I guess Zach LaVine's not dropping like 45 a night.
He has, but
Um,
not consistently.
yeah. A deal centered around a deal bringing Zach LaVine to the Nets. First of all, we know that. Let's just talk about what this deal would look like. So we know that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are completely untouchable, right?
Right.
Like that's a given. So this deal would more than likely center around, I would say, two first round picks, maybe one, probably two first round picks. Um, what's Spencer Dinwiddie's contract look like? Is he a free agent after this year?
I think, but let me check real quick. Like, if it's not Spencer Dinwiddie, they'd have to give up at least Karras, if not one of those two. Let's see. Spencer Dinwiddie. Oh wait, never mind. He goes up until he has a player option for 21-22.
Okay, so Spencer Dinwiddie would be the center of this deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can both agree on that. Spencer Dinwiddie would be the center of this deal. It would probably be
Either
him,
him or
two first round
Karras,
picks.
depending on how Karras performs in the bubble.
I think it might be both of them. I think they might have to give both of them up to get Zach LaVine.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe if it was still guard packs, I wouldn't say that, but I think that like they actually have a competent GM now, and
Yeah.
would probably be like, hey, we're giving you an all-star caliber guard.
Well, the thing is, Spencer
We
Dinwiddie had a really good season this year. He definitely
he
upped
was
his
really
stump.
good, but Kyrie also didn't play. Like Spencer Dinwiddie as the number one guard on a team is good, but like you need other pieces. Yeah, I would say it would probably need those two first round picks, Spencer Dinwiddie, and I would say either Karis LeVert or Jared Allen. One of the two, and maybe both.
Nah, that's too much.
So you're
That's
giving
way
up.
too much for Zach LaVine. I'd say either Spencer Dinwiddie or Karis LeVert. Pick one of the two, right? Throw in a guy like maybe like a sign and trade with Joe Harris, or just I mean that would work. And then probably a first, maybe two. Because Zach LaVine, while he had a good season, his value isn't insanely high. Like he he put up pretty good numbers. He didn't play any defense. He had problems with the coach, and the team was ass. Like, and when you have him as your third option,
Yeah.
he's not going to put up that 25, 26 a game anyway, right? Like if you're
Yeah, but he'd instantly be the best third option in the NBA.
right, but I wouldn't trade that much for a third option because the deal you had put together was Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, DeAndre Jordan, and not DeAndre Jordan, Jarrett
No,
Allen,
not
and
yeah,
two
Jared
first
Allen.
round picks.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it from a Bulls perspective. The Bulls are basically saying we're going to give you our franchise player. We need two
The
to
Bulls
three
don't have a
young pieces,
franchise
I would
player right
say,
now. I think everyone
and then
is
two
not.
first round picks.
Everyone's up for trade.
And
The Bulls don't have a
quite
franchise
frankly,
player.
the Nets first round picks
Aren't valuable.
probably not going to be all that valuable for the next couple of years while Kyrie and Kevin Durant are there. Right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably, if I was the Nets, I wouldn't offer anything more than Dinwiddie, Harris, two firsts. I would cut it there. Because at the end of the day, you don't need Zach LaVine. He would just be nice to have, right? So like, there's no need to gut your
yeah,
roster for him.
I'd say, well, that's what I'm saying is I think the Bulls would probably require the Nets to sort of gut their roster to be like to get Zach LaVine, which I don't think is worth it.
Yeah, it's not.
All right, do we have anything else?
Yes. Two more things. First one, the Knicks, the good old New York
Oh, fucking
Knickerbockers,
hell, dude.
have
I saw this.
have signed Tom Thibodeau to be their coach for the next 5 seasons. You heard that right. 5 seasons.
I don't think he's going to make it more than 2 years.
For sure, no. Because they're still going to suck. And Dolan's going to blame everyone but himself.
Once again, sell the team, James Dolan.
Please.
Please. And thank you. And also, fuck off. I mean, look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm not a Knicks fan. In fact, when the Knicks are good, I really don't like the Knicks. However,
at this point, it's just out of pity.
It's out of pity, and it's not great for the sport when the biggest market in the entire sport is fucking ass year in and year out.
For the past 2 decades.
Except for that one time in like 2013 when they were pretty good.
I mean, they were not. I mean, they were.
They won 50 games. They were pretty good. They won 50 games. I guess it was 2012. It was one of those Carmelo years where they were pretty good.
Yeah. But there's a reason Tom Thibodeau hasn't had a head coaching job in 3 years.
I think he got fired at the beginning of last year.
For the Timberwolves?
I think he got fired in like
for Ryan Saunders.
Yeah.
Or not. Yeah.
Because didn't he get fired like right after Jimmy Butler forced his way out?
Yeah. Let me rephrase that. There's a reason Tom Thibodeau hasn't been a desired head coach for 5 years. No one's going out of their way. No team, no fan base.
There's a reason why there has been zero buzz around his name since he got fired.
No team is saying,
the
coach we need to lead us to the championship is Tom Thibodeau. Because he's...
You know who we could really use? The guy who ran a pretty much surefire superstar
an MVP into the ground. Tom Thibodeau's system would be perfect if we were in 2002. Because he plays like a 6-man rotation and he doesn't know how to run an offense.
Yeah.
Or for a modern defense, for that matter.
Look, if Jim Beeline can get a 5-year contract, John Beeline, whatever, it's the same thing. If he can get a 5-year, whatever he got, $60 million contract coming out of college, as a guy who had never coached professional basketball in his life, if he can get a 5-year not guaranteed, a 5-year contract. I mean, it was a guarantee at the time. Whenever you get a contract, it's the team guaranteeing you to stay until there's a change. When he got that 5-year contract, or him getting that 5-year contract is insane looking back on it. which is, I think, what we're going to be looking at with Tibbs in about 5 years.
Well,
Tibbs
he's
is
not going to
what,
be there in
61?
5 years. Like John Beeline got fired
Um,
halfway through his first season as a coach because he was a bad coach, and the Cavs are an inept franchise as well. But they've had LeBron, so they get a little more credit. Like Tibbs isn't.
Tom Thibodeau is 62.
Yeah, he's not making it. I give him 1.5. No, I'll give him. So
Remember, David Fizdale got like 2 years, 2.5 years.
yeah, but now they have RJ. They're going to be expected to like win games. I say
I don't
next
think anybody
season.
expects shit.
Well, James Dolan's delusional, so I give them. So he'll have next season, and then the year after that, halfway through the season, if they don't have like a 500 record, he'll probably get fired.
Which they won't.
But he'll probably get fired.
Yeah. I don't see him making that long. I see him. The Knicks are fickle. I see him making it. I'll say 3/4 of the way through next season, depending on what it looks like. If it's a full 82 game season, probably 3/4 of the way. If they do some sort of limited season, then maybe like, I don't know, very late in the season. But I don't see him making it a full year in New York unless they're like lighting the world on fire, which it's the Knicks. They won't.
Right. They just can't do anything right.
And even if they are lighting the world on fire, maybe James Dolan will be like, I just don't know if I like this guy very much.
He's winning us too many games. I think we need to shake things up a little bit.
All right. Anything else? Or what's the last thing we got? I know you said 2 more.
Yeah, things. The last thing we got, Kevin Garnett and a set of investors are considering buying the Minnesota Timberwolves. Which is weird.
This is fucking
because
awesome.
Didn't he say he didn't want his jersey retired by them because he hates them?
No, he was. I think he was saying that he hates the current owner. I think he was saying that he doesn't want the current owner to retire his jersey, or that he doesn't think that the current owner will retire his jersey because they have beef.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a little different.
So it would be fucking hilarious if Kevin Garnett was part of the ownership group of the team, and like the first game as the owner, he just
retired his jersey.
That would be such a fucking sick move, dude.
And the thing is, every single Timberwolves fan, like, he is really all you guys have got, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like, he's by far the best player in the history of the franchise.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
like, not even.
Well, he's the only player in your guys' franchise besides Jimmy Butler that has led you guys to, some wins. And he only did that a few times.
Yeah, he won Western Conference Finals, though. So, can't forget that. 2004, magical year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, athletes going into really anything but coaching is almost always bad.
Michael Jordan was a prime example of that one.
I guess star athletes, because there are a lot of former player coaches and GMs who are legitimately good at their job. But, like, all-time great star players, for whatever reason, are just shit, like, coaches, GMs, head coaches, or coaches, GMs, assistant coaches, head coaches, any sort of coach you can be, GM, like president of basketball operations, and owners in the case of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing. I feel like, one, the Timberwolves have a pretty solid team set up already, and two, you can't mess up something that's bottomed out already,
Yeah, it would be like, yeah.
Like, the only way to really mess them up is if you, like, traded Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell for, like, 2 first-round picks, and then traded...
And he would also be part of an ownership group, too, which is beneficial.
It's all about the GM, right? Like, if he finds a good GM candidate, they're fine. I mean, because even the current GM, like, the Minnesota Timberwolves had a pretty underrated trade deadline. Their team saw.
They had an excellent trade deadline.
So
they're not loaded, but they were like, okay, this isn't working. Let's swap out and figure something else out. And they did it.
Yeah.
Which is something that they haven't done in the past. And the reason why I think they've been kind of a bottom feeder for years and years.
That and their inability to draft.
Yeah, that too. Except for hitting on one of the most obvious first round picks ever.
And Cat.
Or number one overall picks ever. Yeah, Cat. Um, but yeah, that's the other thing with ownership groups is, with an owner, you're basically a dictator. Like, you're like, I'm paying all your salaries. What I say goes. But with an ownership group, it's basically like a board, sort of.
Yeah.
So Kevin Garnett, even though maybe he's not like, and I know nothing about him as a GM because he's never been one.
Right.
But like, if he's like the problem with, I think, a lot of former players as GMs and coaches as they approach things as a player would. So when you're part of an ownership group with a bunch of people who aren't former players,
You get outside perspective.
Yeah, you get outside perspective. You're able to handle things in a way that maybe you wouldn't as a former player, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
It's never a bad thing to look at it from another perspective. Well, sometimes it is, but for the most part, like especially in business, it's not a bad thing to look at stuff from another perspective.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe he can find the right GM and the Timberwolves will make a dynasty.
they've already got a good coach. I mean, fairly small sample size with Ryan Saunders,
Yeah.
but they believed in him enough to sign him long term.
And the players seem to like him.
The players seem to like him. He's young. He's like, what, 34? 36?
He looks pretty young. I don't know his exact age.
I think he is the youngest coach in the league.
That would make sense.
I think Brad Stevens is like 40. Yeah, he's 34.
Yeah. So he's got room to grow as a coach too. Like, this whole team is about
for sure, yeah.
growing.
Yeah, and in terms of the NBA, the Timberwolves are still a young franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're what, 30, a little over 30 now. They were 87, 89 expansion, somewhere around there.
They 1990, right? That's what Basketball Reference says.
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, so this is a good situation, I think.
Dude, I'm looking at this.
And as an owner, I can't think of a better situation to inherit with like two young all-stars.
Well, I can.
That sounds fucking awesome. I mean, of course you can, like, inheriting Steph Curry, LeBron, and Kevin Durant would be a good situation.
Bro, give me the Celtics. I like to inherit that team.
That sounds good too. But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got you.
Like it's a damn good situation to inherit.
Yeah.
So,
bro, I'm looking at this first year Minnesota Timberwolves roster. Would you like me to read it out to you?
Yeah.
So they have Adrian Branch, Randy Brewer, Tony Campbell, Tyrone Corbin, Steve Johnson, Gary Leonard, Brad Lowhouse, Sidney Lowe, Sam Mitchell, Todd Murphy, Pooh Richardson, Scott Roth, Donald Royal, Brad Sellers, and Doug West.
Steve Johnson is a 34-year-old accountant. That is all I have to say about the 1990 Minnesota.
He's also a 62-year-old NBA player from Akron, Ohio. But yeah, no, so that team was terrible.
Nice.
But most expansion teams are. But yeah, I think that's all the news we got. A bit shorter than our last one, but still pretty good on length, 45 minutes-ish.
We actually hit about 40 minutes. Yeah, 45 minutes. That's solid. That's what we shoot for at the AA NBA podcast. Adrian Wojnarowski, ending claims, hit us up. Twitter, I know that's your domain. You're the alpha on NBA Twitter, so we get it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to hit us up through there. We can't pay you. We can offer you 100% of the 100% of the money we make from this podcast. How about that?
I'll take a little bit.
Dude, so we're making $0 right now, so 100% of $0 is still $0.
Well, I thought you meant 100% of what we make, like when he joins, because he definitely brings some money.
Good point. Good point. All right, we will offer you 50% of the podcast proceeds.
Yes.
How about that?
And you can even be on the podcast if you want to.
Yeah, you can be on the podcast as much as you want, Woj.
Yeah.
How about that?
No, that's...
You can be on the AA NBA podcast as a special guest every day if you want to. We'll start making episodes every day if you want to be a guest every day.
And if you do, we can even change it to the AAA NBA podcast if you want. Like, we're not against that.
Yeah. All right. Like, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications, do all that stuff. Follow our Twitters, linked in the description.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, bye. Oh, we'll have NBA basketball on the podcast next week. Okay, bye.